Hello, and welcome to Cleaning Up History, where my goal is preservation of headstones and cemeteries while telling forgotten stories of the past. Warning, this video may have adult content and violence. Viewer discretion is advised. So today I'm just going to give a real quick tour of Wellspring Cemetery while sharing some newspaper articles and letters to the newspaper regarding the relocation of cemeteries by TVA. According to Find a Grave, William Mazingo was the first grave to be moved by the TVA project, and he is buried here in Wellspring Cemetery. There was a little over 5,000 graves relocated during the Norris Lake project. TVA has documented that there are 25 graves that remain underwater due to the fact that the families refused to disturb the final resting place of their relatives, and they chose to leave them, and their grave sites were flooded by the lake. There are, positive many more than that that were marked with field stones or unmarked. There's a lot of graves in this area that are marked that way. People would bury their family on their homestead, and once the immediate family was gone, the graves were forgotten. I know I have ancestors that were both left alone, and then I have ancestors that were relocated as well. The ones that were left, they are now, their grave sites, which was once their homestead, is now a part of the wildlife management area, and they didn't get flooded. They're just very difficult to access, but they're still there and in decent shape. And the ones that were relocated, the majority of those are at Baker's Forge Cemetery. But right now we're just going to take a look at Wellspring Cemetery. Well, I want to read this article. It's actually a letter that was written to the Knoxville Journal on 8/20/1934. It was written by Calvin Rutherford as just a letter to the paper, and I found it pretty fascinating. It's titled The Lake Necropolis. Here 4,000 dead are resting in the zone neath Norris Dam. These are known and graves are charted through the work of Uncle Sam. Full 3,000 more forgotten sleep beside their guns and brooms, and not a man neath all the heavens will ever find these silent tombs. The lives they lived have molded history. Sons of their sons are men of fame, but in fiction only, not in history, will certain bones have certain names. Here through coming time will leave them, guarded by sunbeams, guarded by waves, with nature through the centuries humming, fond lullabies above the graves. Nature loved our daring pioneers, those who lived in dwells and mountains, and hid the mortal part that died, neath water dammed for power fountains. Not a gull's rough spade shall touch them, not a fool invades their graves, for their sacred bones are resting by the bones of Indian graves. They silent fell where duty found them, and they were wrapped in sod they loved. Here they shall sleep while poets praise them, and stars and moons are seen above. For at King's Mountain, King's troops met them. 'Twas sons they sired that freed the slaves. He goes on to talk about some of his ancestors, particularly, but I thought that was a pretty cool little piece that was written in 1934 to the Knoxville Journal. The majority of the clippings that I've put up for you guys to look at, they are published between 1934 and 1936. TVA did keep very good records of every grave they moved. They, along with documented records, they also photographed the majority of them, and those records are available for the public to access. But the Norris Dam project, it affected many of the counties, Campbell County, Union County, Claiborne County, Anderson County, Knox County. There's a lot of people's ancestors that were moved or left behind. One of the larger projects was the one in Baker's Forge. Baker's Forge Cemetery is a pretty massive cemetery, and I think there was over 1,000 relocated graves that were placed in Baker's Forge Cemetery. But this little cemetery, Wellspring Cemetery, it's a pretty quiet little place with a view of the mountains and a view of the lake. And it's just a pretty little place. There are many graves that are just marked with blocks or field stones that are not identified anymore, but it's a pretty little place up here. And I didn't really have to do any headstone cleanings or anything like that. There's a few broken stones, but it's pretty well kept and maintained. Somebody takes real good care of this cemetery, which I'm very happy to see. Because there's a lot of these older cemeteries that are neglected, and I'm glad to see that this one's still kept in such good condition. But it's still current. They're still using it to bury people currently. So, and also from what I understand, there is a cemetery that is located on an island in the middle of Norris Lake, and it's between Claiborne County and Union County. There's a pretty good sized island in the lake, and there are graves located on that island as well. So that's what I got for you guys today. Just a quick tour of Wellspring Cemetery, and to share some of the articles regarding the relocation of graves by TVA. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tour and some of the articles I shared with you. And again, if you like the content of my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. It's on the right side. And also, if you hit the little bell button, you'll be notified anytime I upload any videos. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.